we were having these discussions 10 years ago, and the focus, even when we were asking the same questions, was on very much behaviour and lifestyle. Now, I know the way that we asked the questions, we asked about social inequities and then health inequities, but we asked those questions 10 years ago, and it's very interesting to me to show how, as a health, welfare, social policy community, there is a much more a convergence of what the issues are, what's causing them. There are challenges, obviously, in terms of how we work together to resolve those, but I think the richness of the room, and we will definitely come back to this in the next presentation, is a really solid starting base for what we're going to be doing over the next 2 days. In the next presentation, basically what I wanted to do was just to kind of create a level playing field for us in terms of saying a quick tour de table of what is the current status of health equity in the region. Not necessarily by showing lots of graphs and data, because you have all of that in your countries, but to basically saying what do we know from the evidence about those trends? What's behind those? What do we know about the mix of policy interventions that are effective at different stages in life, and how well are we implementing those? So I'd like to do that in the next sort of 30-40 minutes, and then have a chance for a discussion. But what struck me is that when we designed this course, people said, well, what do you really mean by soft skills? You know, what we really need is we need all the hard data and the evidence and to make the case, etc. But you've just said that you've got data, you've got evidence, you've got even like strong agendas that are common across different sectors. But the issue is, how do we make it work in practice? How do we set both the political course? How do we shape the policy narratives and the policy options? And then what are the ways of implementing it? And they are the soft skills. And actually over the next 2 days, the issues around agenda setting, framing things within the policy and the political stream, negotiating in a real life kind of policy setting to kind of push things forward. This is the soft skills that we're going to be practicing. So please see that as the main basis, the foundation of the 2.5 days. But in fact, this is just the kind of setting the scene. So if we look across the region, where are we? Well, if you look at the WHO recent data, we're on track. We're doing well. We can all pack up and go home, because we look at the absolute differences in health between countries in the region. You can see that in the last 10, 15 years, and even this is dated till 2010, the 2015-16 data shows that there is a trend of improvement, i.e. basically the differences in the region are getting smaller between the countries with the worst and the best health. But that's average differences, and it shows a positive, and we do need to measure absolute differences in health. If we look at premature mortality, we can see also the same. So for both life expectancy and premature mortality, the trends are very positive. At the same time, even compared to 10 years ago and 5 years ago, there is increasing European and global attention on health inequalities. And this is not just from within the health sector or from the European Commission or WHO. OECD Economic Agency, looking at employment and education inequalities. This was a really fundamental paper that they produced in 2015, looking at In It Together. The first time the OECD has actually come out in the last 10 years and said actually inequalities is bad for economics. We have income inequality, so we have the economists talking about we cannot actually have the progress of society economically, socially, while we have inequities, particularly income inequalities. We've got the new EU Pillar of Social Rights, which is setting an agenda to reorientate and address the gaps around inclusion, employment, access to material resources needed to live a healthy life. And Clive will pick that up much more tomorrow in the session in the morning. Then we have the work of the WHO, both the European Review on Social Determinants, which many of you around the table participated in. Some of you have gone on to take this and produce national reports. I know that in Hungary, Croatia and Poland and Slovenia, these have been reports that have influenced your own national and local reports. And then more recently, we've had the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals,